All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring on my guest here for you this morning. We're going to have some fun. She is an expert listener. What does that mean? We're going to find out, expert listener. She is a motivational speaker, author of 3 books, with one of them being Listening into the Hearts of Men. So gentlemen, tune in. Ladies, pay attention. She has a podcast called Breaking Free. She's a life coach, which means she's going to help you find your purpose. Man, I could talk to this woman all day long. Let me tell you, we are going to have some fun. She's an expert when it comes to relationships. She sits on boards and panels across the U.S., ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome my new friend, Marilyn Shannon. Good morning, Marilyn.
Good morning, Joe.
How was the accuracy of all of that? Was it good?
Pretty good. I mean, yeah, pretty good. I mean, it gives me the chills. When you hear about yourself, you kind of get chilly.
I know. You go, wow, I do all that.
Yeah.
You do all of that. So first I want to say good morning and thank you so much for joining me for a coffee. Hopefully you have a cup next to you. And do you? I hope so. Yeah, maybe. No.
I'll get some later. It's okay.
It's not really coffee in the cup. I'm just kidding.
That's my favorite kind of cup.
Little Sambuca, right? So let me, man, I'm going through it and I'm trying to, organize things in a sense that I'm somewhat focused because I have a focus issue. And I want to make sure that we get the right points out and that we share with our viewing audience things that can make a difference in their day. That's Wake Up to the Vibe is like, I want people, when they log off, they feel it. They're like, wow, I never thought of that, or wow, that felt good. So far, so good. And then you and I were on the phone the other day. I literally had to shut the conversation down because I'm like, oh my gosh, we can talk all day long, and I don't want to know these things right now. I want to learn with everybody else. So can we start off, because this really sticks in my head. Expert listener. Yeah. Kind of give me a little outline of what is an expert listener in your words.
Well, it doesn't mean I'm better than anybody else. It means that I'm an expert. It doesn't mean I'm the only expert. Listening is a gift. Listening is as important to us as breathing. And I have been practicing listening for almost 20 years. And I say that my life is the way it is because I turned on my listening. And I know that when I hear one thing, it's only the track, the railroad track to something else. It's not where I'm done. It's just where, okay. Oh, yeah. And that's how it's been. And it allows me to be brilliant. But my work is helping people find that level of listening, so you can be brilliant, comfortable, happy in anything you do.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? Because, it sounds so simple, but how many times have you said to somebody, you're not listening to me? Right? Or
yesterday.
Yesterday, every day, right? No, you're not listening to me. I've accused people of you're not a very good listener. And sometimes we just need someone to listen. But more importantly, you can get so much from listening, right? You don't learn anything by talking, which is, sometimes I get carried away and it's like, Joe, stop. But when you call yourself an expert listener, maybe one of our listeners is watching right now, or one of our viewers, one of our listeners, maybe one of the folks listening this morning, maybe they'll walk away from this and go, you know what? I need to do a better job at listening to my boss, listening to my wife, my husband, my brother, my sister, whatever the case may be, my son, my daughter. Is there a technique or something psychologically you can rehearse in your mind to make you a better listener?
Well, first of all, let me go. I'm going to answer that question, but let me just say you can learn from talking as long as you're listening to what you're saying.
Wait, okay.
Where your talk is going.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to repeat that because
you learn from every. Okay.
Well, only because the audio cut out. I'm losing your audio.
So you mentioned that we don't necessarily learn from talking. We learn from listening. Well, we can learn as long as we turn on our listening. So if you're talking and you're listening to what you're saying, you're conscious of it, you're observing what's coming out of your mouth, you are going to learn.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So listening is a sense. It is the king, queen, mega sense. So everything we do is listening. Touch has a listening. Smell is listening. Taste is listening. Everything around us is telling us something. So if you go into a fish store and you smell the fish, you are receiving information, whether you like the smell of fish or you don't.
Right.
It smells fishy or it doesn't. But you are receiving information. So we are constantly receiving information. And so that's the level of listening, because listening is the receptor of receiving information. So what I would say to everybody is just see the word listening everywhere you go. And just anytime you can remember, just say to yourself, listen, and then see what happens. There's a quietness. There is a peace in just imagining the word. And then if you go to the grocery store and you just say, listen, you're going to see something. You're going to notice something you never noticed before.
Right.
If you go out in the street, if you're in a room full of people and there's tons of noise and you can't hear anything, just say to yourself, listen. And there will be something that you will then become aware of. And if you do that on as many regular basis as you can, and you also have the right to not listen, you have the right to hear yourself say, you know what, I'm done for the day. I'm done for the moment. I don't want to listen to this person anymore. I don't want to listen to myself anymore.
Right.
You got the right to turn it down. That's listening.
Yeah, you said something that it's going to stay with me for the rest of my life, and I wish I thought of it 10 years ago. I used to be a sales trainer at a software company, and I was always telling the team, listen, because you're not learning anything when you're talking. But you just said something. When you're talking, you can learn when you listen to yourself and what it is you're saying. I never thought about that. You know, it sounds so simple, but wow, like that's an eye opener. Listen to what you're saying right now and you will learn something. I love it. Thank you.
Well, you said something also earlier. It is easy there, but not everything easy is easy.
Not everything easy is easy.
No, it's just to tell you, I'm starting a Facebook group called Listening School. So if anybody out there wants to come in, just join it. And it's going to be things like this, where we just talk about listening, or we post things, or we engage with each other, because it's a laboratory. When you engage with somebody about listening, with even yourself, it's like being in a laboratory. You're experimenting with things, because that's what listening is. Listening is an experiment. Because once you've heard something, you're done. And so you have to kind of play with it, mold it, sculpt it, use it, try it, play with it. So it's like a laboratory. So I'm starting a listening school. So if anybody wants to join, come over there and join me. We're going to have some fun.
I love it. I love it. I just want to tell I'm calling them our listening audience, our viewing audience. Not only do I want to say good morning and welcome to Wake Up to the Vibe. I see a lot of you had just jumped in the room. We have some good numbers this morning. I am with Marilyn Shannon, who is an author, and we're gonna go into that segment of her life soon. And we were just talking about listening. I wanted to put that out there again, Marilyn, because there is a little bit of an audio feed issue going on. It's pretty cool. We're smooth, but every now and then I kind of lose you. But, this is live streaming, and with everybody home with this quarantine stuff, the internet bandwidth is getting sucked up from your next door neighbors and people 3 countries away. It's just everybody is online. So this is what we're up against. The more people online, the less bandwidth is fed and you lose audio and video. But anyway, putting that out there. So, man, you've taught me so much already. I'm so excited. I'm excited to listen and be a better listener. I need to be a better listener as well. If you don't mind, I want to switch gears because there are so many segments in your life that I want to talk about, but we only have that window here this morning. You're an author, okay? You wrote a book, Listening into the Hearts of Men, okay? We'll talk about your other books as well, but that one there just caught my attention. I did not read the book, but being a man, and we're talking about listening. What does that mean, listening to the hearts of men?
Well, to give you kind of the story in a nutshell, I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's where my office is. That's where my family is. But I am a Jewish girl from Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
And I grew up with a lot of strong Jewish male energy.
Okay.
And that's a big energy.
That's big stuff.
That's big stuff. Big. So, as I was growing up, I didn't always like men too much. I mean, I liked men, but I didn't always like men. Right. In that way. And because they were scary to me. So as I became a coach, I started coaching a lot of men. And lo and behold, I realized, wow, men are just so cool. They're sweet. They're kind. They just are waiting for, that they're waiting for love. They don't always know how to express it. They don't always know how to share how they feel about things, or they have it in them. They just don't have the words. They didn't have the permission to express it. I mean, I can think of my father, should rest in peace, the same way. He used to get angry, but his anger was only because he didn't know how to express himself. So I decided to, start my series of books, because it is a series, with men, because I wanted men to have the permission to see other men express themselves as fathers, as employers, as, men in prison, coming out of prison, bisexual, transgender, American Indian. I mean, I interviewed all kinds of men about their life stories and how they evolved. And my purpose was for men to, have it. But what I found was more women were reading it.
Right.
Which was an interesting thing. Women were buying it from men. I hope one day men buy it for themselves. But more women were buying it for themselves, and also giving it to men. So men, I interviewed 20 some odd men about their journeys, and I just listened. And I never had a problem finding a man to talk to.
So
I could.
I mean, were you tapping into their sensitive side? Were you helping them discover an area of their heart and soul that they didn't know even existed? I mean, because sometimes I think people in general, not just men, but sometimes people struggle to even go beneath the surface of their skin and explore internally why they're feeling the way they're feeling and why they're happy. Why are you sad? Why are you depressed? Why are you excited? Like, sometimes people struggle to really look inside, so they project everything outward. Does it make sense? If I'm explaining it right? Yeah. I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist by any means.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. You don't have to be. You're a person. I mean, you have plenty of experience. That's why we're all experts. We don't, because we're living life, and we're all an expert. Well, the thing is, when you listen to people, I have grown with listening, and And you said earlier, I'm a relationship expert. I am, because I'm listening. And because I'm listening, I'm understanding. And I'm also understanding what I know and what I don't know. And I'm not afraid to ask. So when I was listening to the men, listening into the heart, I didn't come with an agenda, because every man is different. I just came with listening into their heart and let their heart tell me what's going on. Let them, and they knew. I just start talking. I asked one question. So how was your day? I mean, people would say to me, what, do you have a bunch of questions? No. Right. How was your day? Today it was, how was your day? Maybe today was, how was yesterday? What'd you eat for breakfast? What'd you do? What are you going to do tomorrow? That just started it. And because I listened, right, because I showed I cared, I made eye contact. I really, I interviewed a gentleman who was bisexual. I'm not bisexual by no stretch of the imagination. I have a husband. I am who I am. But I could understand, listening to where he came from, how he could be bisexual. So there's no judgment. There's no question in my mind. I could sympathize with his good things and his pain. Right. The same thing with a gentleman I interviewed who's transgender. Not transgender, but when you travel somebody's story with them and you're listening into them, you can see it and you can understand people better. That's the point.
If you just
we need to understand shit.
Yeah, if you just take the time to listen. So you took, I like this. You took the listening concept, right, and the fact that you've become an expert listener, but then you channeled that in the direction of writing a book that came from sitting down and actually listening to men. Now, let me ask you this, because this is a great segue to talk about relationships, right? So you write this book about men. What do you think a man's weakest point is in a relationship?
That's a great question. Well, if it's with a woman, it's women, because we're very strong these days.
Yes, you are.
We are very strong, and we all can be strong and loving at the same time, and we don't have to hurt each other. I think that men got started later. Excuse me. I think men got started developing their emotional skills. Not everyone, but some of them got started later. So a little patience on everybody's, side would be good, and to give people a chance. And I just think but I think seeing more and want to communicate. They want those loving relationships with their children. They want to connect with their parents. They want to be, if you look in the business community, in the business world, if you're not going to listen, you're going to lose. Right. Because you've got to work, like you interviewed somebody from where, I can't even pronounce where he's from.
From the Nuba Mountains? But
yeah, we have the opportunity to cross all kinds of, we don't even know whose gender is what anymore. People are talking to people from all over the world. And look what's going on now. We're all like in the same boat. The thing that's going to connect us and allow us to do what we have to do, whether it's for financial purposes, whether it's our business, is listening. Because you can't know enough about culture. You can't know, I don't know if you are a man, a woman, or a they. Right. The only thing that's going to connect me is my connection to you that I make through listening. So men have started later in that world, but we all can catch up to each other, whatever that looks like. And I can be ahead of you for one thing, and you can be further along than me for something else. Doesn't matter. Right. It's all the same at the end of the day.
Yeah. So obviously, and I don't want to overuse this term. It sounds so simple because so many of us fail at it, but men need, I'm probably going to get slack for saying this, but this is what I'm gathering out of our conversation. Men need to find patience and focus more on listening sounds so easy, but how many people are impatient, and you might hear somebody, you might hear your spouse or your girlfriend or your partner or whatever, but that does not mean you are listening. So this whole listening thing just plays and plays and plays.
Right.
Never realized it was so important.
Well, it is. And I would add to that, it would be great for men to find other men that they can connect with. And it's not the macho man. It's the other men. I mean, you're all macho. Macho is heart. Macho is good. Anything taken the wrong direction could be hurtful. So, or almost anything. But if men find other men to connect with, that would be a really great thing. And listen. And then, of course, find people like me who like working with men.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. I just had this conversation with my girlfriend, Michelle, the other day. We were talking about how women have all these groups and networks, like, Meet Monday night, it's the women's networking group, and Meet Tuesday night, it's wine and sip and paint, whatever they call it. But so I always, and especially in this area, I see so many networks and groups of women who do all these things together, but I never see any type of promotion of, hey guys, let's get together and let's talk about this. It's almost like, I don't know why. I can't put my finger on it. I just had this conversation the other day. I says, why don't men get together more and dial in on certain topics? I know they play basketball together. They might have poker night and that kind of stuff. I get it, but it doesn't seem like we're promoting men getting together with men.
Well, I am the founder of a networking organization for women, and we're in a couple of different states. I would say that if any man is interested in creating a networking organization for men, not because they don't like women, because my group, we love men, but we do certain things that are, kind of sacred to women in networking.
Right.
I would say that if there's a man out there, no matter where you are, I don't care if you're in Timbuktu, if you want to start a group for men that with heart, where you can have good conversations. These kind of conversations is what makes business sustainable.
Right.
Just passing a business card to your, somebody who walks in one day is not sustainable. Sustainable is building a relationship that can, go the test of time.
Right.
So if any man wants to start a networking group for men, reach out to me. I'm happy to help.
Yeah. Where I see a lot of, where I do see men's networking, aspect taking place is in the church. I know through different churches that I've been involved in, they do have men's breakfast on Saturday morning, and they're usually faith focused and stuff. But I completely get what you're saying. But there are a lot of advantages to sitting down and having real heart to heart talks versus throwing back beers at the bar with a bunch of guys. That's a whole different networking event. And I like
right.
that networking event. I'm not downplaying that,
right.
But there's a lot to be said.
We do both.
Yeah.
Yes, we do both.
So
we do it all.
We do it all. It's interesting. You've given us some good stuff to think about. One of the things I picked up on your website, I was kind of scanning through and looking at different topics. And the one topic that I tend to really play in my mind a lot is the topic of change. So I'm switching gears right now. There's so much to talk to you about. I don't want to discredit your other books, so interrupt me and talk about them if you want to. But the topic of change really stuck with me because we are in a period in life that is involving major change in who you are, change in how you respond to your family, change in how you spend money, change in how you manage your health because you're not going to the gym every day. Like all of these changes going on. Can you give us some advice or just hit some points on how people can execute change? Because sometimes changes, people back up from change. Nobody loves change. It can be difficult, but yet it's so healthy.
Well, even if you don't empower yourself to change, change is going to happen no matter what. So it is a little, and we don't have much choice. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
So it's going to happen. I mean, I didn't choose. I don't think I chose this. I mean, I don't think I chose for COVID-19, but it's what I do every day that I, in some way, I have free will.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly believe, as painful as this is now, and this is extremely painful. I mean, I'm in Florida. I'm almost 6 weeks here with my mother, left my husband in Raleigh and working from here. I'm coaching from here. I'm working from here. I mean, I haven't seen my grandchildren in like 6 weeks. I mean, my children, nobody.
Right.
I didn't choose this exactly. I think this was chosen for me. However, and it's very sad, all the stuff that's going on. But at the end of the day, a lot of people, there's something good that's going to come out of this for each of us
mm-hmm.
in some way, whether it's work related, whether it's, I have to find my way to exercise. I don't have a gym. I don't have a pool. I have to make myself do something mm-hmm. that I'm not like in love with, but I have to. So, and I'm doing things I can't, and a lot of people are the same. I mean, people are finding I had a conversation yesterday with my sister-in-law. She doesn't even care that her hair is turning colors.
Right.
I mean, people that normally would care about their color of their hair or the way their nails looked as far as women are concerned, men are showing up to meetings in sweatshirts and with kids on their laps.
But let's Marilyn, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Let's go a little deeper. Let's talk about change in the aspect of the person who has been an opioid addict for the last 5 years. Let's talk about the person who has been an abuser, or maybe the person who's addicted to work. I mean, like the person who wants to make change, like drastic change, but for some reason they don't. Why don't they? And how can they?
Well, that's a big question. I don't have all the answers. I mean, if I was sitting in front of someone and I was talking to an opioid addict, I could sense some things, but, some things are, come from history, from, how you were brought up. Some things are environmental. Some things are karmic. There's all kinds of people do things. It's not, so change, I would say change, take a little baby step at a time.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to work out on a treadmill, don't tell yourself, well, I'm going to go on half an hour every day, 7 days a week. Don't do that. If you never go on a treadmill, go
right.
on for 5 minutes.
Right.
And get off. If you want to stay on sometimes for 10, okay. But don't make it, we've made it so complicated.
Mm-hmm.
We grade it. It's too much. It was all about breaking free. It's all about freedom. Go on for 5 minutes and have a sense of humor with life. That's part of listening. You have got to have a sense of humor, because you're going to hear things that are going to be downright funny.
Right.
And so lighten up on yourselves. Don't make yourself do the change that's so drastic. A day at a time, an experience at a time, and allow yourself the flexibility. And here's the other thing I think is very, very important, Bob. Joe, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Call me Bob.
To acknowledge it. I will, because I have a really good friend, Bob, is to acknowledge yourself for anything you do. It's like gasoline for the car. If you don't put gasoline in the car, it ain't going to go.
Right.
If you don't acknowledge yourself and give yourself a pat on the back for anything, Like this morning, my computer just would not connect to Zoom on any stretch of the imagination. I tried and tried and tried, and I don't like giving up on something. So I thought, popped into my head, let me use my phone.
Right.
Well, what do you think? It worked.
Right.
So I acknowledge myself for like not thinking, oh, it won't work on my phone either. I figured I'd try it. What do I got to lose? I mean, try things. And when you try something, it doesn't work, try something else. Don't beat yourself up.
Yeah,
just keep trying.
Yeah, that's
doing.
That's a good point. I think a lot of times people, especially if you're dealing with an addiction or a life change, whether it be, you know what, I need to lose weight and get healthy. These are big challenges in life. I think the important thing, and I like what you said, is to take that small step. Progress is better than perfection, right? Forget the perfection part of it.
Look, my next book coming out is People Impacted by Opioid Addiction. And one of my favorite stories is a story of this gentleman who wouldn't talk to me for a while because he was engaged in the addiction. And I was waiting for him to be okay with talking. Even though he was still engaged, he talked to me. And he struggles, but he can look at how much time goes by between the time he's clean and he's not. And only he knows, is he stronger? Is it a little more time? Did he go back, shooting up a little less wanting to? Right. You got to look at those things,
right?
Those little subtle things and say, there's change. This change because this time I didn't do it. I didn't go back for as long, or I didn't, I stayed longer clean. Look at it.
Yeah.
Every little thing, it matters. And that's the point. We need to take a look at our lives and go, it's not, whoa, I'm just not clean. It's how long did you stay clean this time? How long did you stay dirty?
Right. I like what you said earlier too, is kind of cool, is to, if you're going to make these changes and you're going to take that step, take the small steps, but do it with a sense of humor. Because even though it's such a serious topic, regardless of what your change is, if it's at any magnitude to change something about yourself that you want to go forward without, do it with a sense of humor. Laugh at yourself, but take that judgment away from yourself, right?
Absolutely. I laugh at myself constantly.
Why do I believe you?
I mean,
you're a Jewish woman from Brooklyn. You're a Jewish woman from Brooklyn.
Yes. You cannot be us and not laugh.
Right.
It's impossible. Any of us. How could you not laugh at yourself?
That's right. I'm so comfortable saying that to you and joking with you in that fashion.
This is true.
Hey, you came onto the show and said, I'm a Jewish woman from Brooklyn. You have the accent and everything. I love it. Oh my gosh. So all right. We talked about listening. I love it. We've given some good tips. You really opened up my eyes to a sense that awareness is a lot. A lot of times just awareness, just bringing it to the table to make you aware of it is gonna help you walk away and change that aspect because you're aware of it, right?
Right.
What about the person who struggles to find? You ever meet that person who just can't find serenity no matter what? They are just constantly, I always say the word dramatic is drama addict. Okay. If you break the word down, and there are some people who and we all know them, they just can't even function without some kind of drama going on in their life. They just can't seem to find that exhaled, peaceful place in life. Serenity doesn't exist, but yet it's in there. What the heck what can they do? What can we do for them? Let's start with what can they do? Because I actually think they know who they are. I think when people are unhappy, don't you think they know it? Right?
Well,
She goes,
Sometimes. I mean, I think down to their core, I think sometimes to their core they do, if they just take a second, but it's painful to acknowledge you're not happy, or it's painful to acknowledge that you're an angry person, or, that you're an abuser, male or female. I mean, it's hard.
Right.
So there's not one answer for that. I mean, I think first of all, people make themselves wrong. So then that compounds the next thing they do. And they go into it feeling wrong. They go into it feeling bad. I mean, a lot of people have been mushed growing up.
Right.
Mushed. I mean, as kids, bullied from other kids, a mother, a father, the environment, whatever it is. So I don't think there's one answer for somebody, that's listening. If you're listening and if you're listening, first of all, here now, you're not that person.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, you're not that person. And the people that I've seen I've worked with people who have been abused, but I love them. I talk to them with love because I know there's something painful going on inside of them.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe if people did that in general, that would soften up and help the people who are struggling. A little bit here, a little bit there, we will chip away at that.
And
so it is all of our responsibilities.
Yes. And it all goes back to listening. If you want to help that person be a better listener, take the time to ask the right questions. But you know what frustrates me in life is when somebody asks you a question and then they move right on. Like they don't stop to listen to the answer. And then you sit there and go, you just asked me a question. And sometimes I do it. I think it's almost human nature. I try not to do it. If I was to ask my guest a question and then not shut up and listen, I would be a horrible talk show host. But people in general, human nature, I think people tend to do that, right?
Well, the more creative you are, the more you're going to do it.
Oh my gosh, I'm screwed.
No, I mean, you are a creative guy. I mean, you're spontaneous. I mean, people are spontaneous. They get triggered. They ask a question, and then by the mere asking of that question, they are triggered into another question, or they see something around them.
Mm-hmm.
So people that can do that tend to have a more creative side.
Okay.
So it's important the other person, when possible, and unless you know this, to tell that person, you just went off into la la land, right? or the person that went into la la land comes back and say, I just went into la la land. Can you repeat what you just said?
Right.
Just the awareness.
Yeah.
That's it. These are very simple things, but how do you put out on constantly? That's why I'm starting this listening school, so we can get to those little things.
I love it. A listening school. That is so cool.
Listening school.
Mom, yeah. I'm going to listening school. There is a God.
Well, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great?
That's right. Hey, listen, the one thing that I want to talk about too is because some of our listeners and viewers who are with us today might find this to be interesting, but you have a podcast that you do weekly called Breaking Free.
Right.
What is that all about? I can almost tell you what it's about on the title, but you tell me what it's about.
So it's not exactly a podcast. It is kind of, sort of, but not. I mean, it's like a TV talk show.
Okay.
That's on the internet.
Okay. So it's video.
It's video. So we've been doing it for over 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
We get in excess of about 9,000 live views when we do it. And then, of course, we get more on YouTube or wherever else we post it. We do post it as a podcast as well. So I have guests, 1, 2 multiples from all over the world, talking about anything that will free us up. Anything that will help us, whether it's a tool, a strategy, a technique, a philosophy, a new kind of way of doing business, a business, whatever it is that somebody is doing, their personal story, so that whoever is listening, wherever they are, can hear something that might say to them, oh, if they can do it, I can do it.
Right.
Or, God, I have that same feeling too. Or, oh, wow, that exists. Or I might want to try that. Whatever the conversation is. So I have people on we've been in trees, we've been in the ocean, we've been on rocks, we've been in all over the world.
What do you, wait. What do you mean you've been in trees? What, you broadcasting from a tree?
Somebody broadcasting from a tree, my guest.
I want to start doing this.
Let me tell you what, we've been all over the place. We've been on a boat going around up the East Coast on a motorboat.
I love it.
We've been in caves. Yeah, we've been all over. So you never know what's going to happen.
Wow.
And so, and it's all kinds of people doing. It could be an author. It could be an artist. I've had lots of artists on talking about the creative process, their art, their particular art form, all kinds of stuff.
I want to be on your show.
And it's been quite something.
I want to be on your show.
I want you to be on my show. Okay, we'll make it happen.
I want to be in a tree.
We'll make it happen.
I love
everybody it. Has a story. Everybody has a story, Joe.
Everybody has
a story.
Yeah.
And the way. Go ahead.
No, so I have people ask me, they go, where do you find these guests? So I've been asked this a few times this week, and you just nailed it. Everybody has a story. You just want to talk to the people who want to tell it, right?
Everybody has a story. And I could, sometimes I have guests that, just by the mere fact of what they do can take up an hour. Some people, what they do isn't amazing, but how they got there is amazing.
Right.
Or something about their life or who they are. Everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And I don't even have to try hard. I could I can bring anybody on
right.
and talk about anything, and it would be interesting.
I love it. Just a recap for our viewers, a lot of you who might have just jumped into the room, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us here on Wake Up to the Vibe. I'm with my guest, Marilyn Shannon. We're having coffee together this morning. She's an expert listener, motivational speaker, author of 3 books, has a video broadcast show called Breaking Free. She's a life coach. Marilyn, I have to ask you, when do you sleep?
Well, I go to sleep at it's funny you should ask.
I love the delay. There's a delay in the broadcast.
Well, I try to go to sleep like at a normal hour. Like I go because my rhythms will get off if I don't. But I'm not a really good sleeper. But I go to bed like lights out sometime between 10 and 11.
Down.
But I am not a good sleeper.
Right.
But you see, I'm methodical. I am not that great. I just have learned how to be methodical with my time, and I've learned how to go from like an equal balance. And if I've learned how to do it. I'm no better than anybody else. I've just learned I can do a lot because I jump from one thing to another well, and everything I do is connected. See, there's a purpose. I have a personal mission in my life. So it makes everything I do connected. It's not hard when everything I do is if all you made was chicken, all you'd buy is chicken.
Right.
Everything I do is connected. Everything I do has a purpose.
Yes.
And so it's easy for me to keep up with it.
Right.
So I just keep up with it.
I think the one thing that I've recognized, I haven't known you very long, but we've had a couple conversations and exploring your websites and watching your videos. The one thing that you have that a lot of people wish they had, and they do have it, but it's called execution. You just have to execute, put it in motion, because if you don't, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen on its own. I mean, writing 3 books, it's hard to write 1 page.
Yes, it is.
Right?
It is.
So you,
especially for me, I wasn't a writer.
So
I'm a talker. Well, I'm a talker. I make up words. You can't write with all kinds of made up words. People never understand what you're talking about. I can say to you funky words, but it's in the tone. It's in our conversation. You'll understand me because I make up words. I'm street and I make up words.
Right.
In writing, you can't always do that. So with the first book, the men's book, I struggled. The words didn't come out. The phrases, the way to express it didn't come out. It was a struggle. But now it's not a struggle anymore. Now there's a flow to it, and I'm complimented on my writing now. I mean, I'm looking for an agent, and I had an agent turn me down, but she said my writing was really good. So right. I am convinced that my writing has improved. You just have to practice, and you just have to do it. If you have a passion for, passion is to help people understand each other. My passion is for listening and to use it in different ways. So my books are about understanding a group of people, a philosophy. You know, the shows are something else. Whatever. Coaching, of course, is something else.
Yeah.
So I have to do these things, and I have to find a way to do it. And I have to say, if I can, people on LinkedIn will constantly be connecting with me about execution. Yeah. And I'm like, did you not read my bio?
Right. Are you asking me if I read your bio?
No, I mean, I want to say to them, did you not read my bio?
Right.
Because I do things. I don't have to have somebody tell me how to do something.
Right.
I'll do it.
You'll do it.
Because I'll do it because I have to do it. It's my mission.
You'll do it because you'll do it because you're from Brooklyn.
Well, that too. And I lived in Manhattan for a while. But when you love something, you're going to do it. I mean, Joe, you love this, right?
I love this. Love this. Can you tell?
Yeah. So no matter what, you are going to make this happen.
Yeah. I believe, right? I believe you. Yes. Yes.
I mean, you told me a little bit, and it's hard to do a show every day. It's hard to get guests every day. It's hard to have the energy every day to do what you're doing. I commend you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And you are listening really well.
I'm doing good.
And you're doing excellent. And you're aware of your audience. You're not just focused on me. You're aware of your audience. You're not just focused on the audience. You're doing everything you have to do.
Thank you.
And with a sense of humor, which is great, because who wants to come and listen to just a talking head? Nobody. Not me. I'd never have this. No. I don't want a talking head. I'd be awfully boring.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for those kind words. I appreciate your acknowledgement and your ability to recognize that. It means a lot to me. And I mean that because every morning at 5:00, I get out of bed and I say to myself, oh my gosh, whose idea was this 7:00? You got to be kidding me. And then every morning at 8:00, I'm walking around the house high as a kite. I'm like, oh, I love this job. That was fun. That was great. I'm grateful. I'm meeting people every day. People like yourself who I met through Michelle Nidifer, who I met through Michelle Webb. I was on the phone with a manager in Nashville yesterday, connecting me with my guest for next Wednesday, who came from Liz Longley, who was on the show on Monday. Like every guest that has been on this show has sent their friends my way. And I love that. Like, my gosh, to me, it's a blessing to be that vehicle to put this information out there. And I just do my best to put good information out there. I don't want to, people don't just want to listen to me talk for an hour.
Well, I think it works better when obviously when your heart is in the right place.
Yes. Well, yes.
I do my show every. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All things in life work better when your heart is in the right place.
The only way it's going to work. I mean, I do my show every Monday, And normally I go to a studio in Raleigh and I have a producer and I don't have to do any of the technical stuff. I just have to get the guests. I show up and whatever, my guests come in and he takes care of it. Here, I don't have that same ability. I'm doing it through a computer.
Yeah.
I'm in my mother's house. The internet isn't so great. I've had some challenges too. And every time I go to the show, I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen today? But I do the show just like you. Something fabulous happens, comes out of it.
Yes.
Get done with it. And I go,
yes, I can relate.
It doesn't make it easy going into it.
That's right.
It's hard. It's hard doing it because I never know if the internet's right. My sound hasn't always been great.
Right.
But
I feel like I'm looking in the mirror.
You are. I mean, my husband had to send me my microphone last week because my producer didn't like how I sounded because my mother's floors are all marble.
Right.
There's no way of picking up. Anyway, but things are not always easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't do them. And there's always help along the way. So I will say.
I love that. Things are not always easy. That doesn't mean you can't do them. And help is along the way. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. So simple.
Just like a miracle. Miracles, you have to see them to see them.
You're a miracle.
Well, I don't know. I guess I am to my mother.
I was just gonna say that. They said that when you were born. I'm confident.
I'm sure they have.
So let's give out some contact information. If somebody's interested to watch your show that you do on Mondays, it's not at 7 a.m. on Mondays, is it? Okay, perfect. No. I'll let you promote it then. Go ahead and tell us how to reach you. Right. And we didn't touch on your other books. I'm sorry. We'll have to do another show and touch on them. But yes, that's okay. Where are you? How can we? That's right. Where can we find you?
Everything, Joe, is meant to be a certain way. So, well, most everything anyway.
I agree.
So the show is on nissancommunications.com Mondays at 1:00. It's called Breaking Free. That's NISSAN Communications, COMMU. I don't know if I'm spelling it right because I'm not looking at it, but nissancommunications.com. My books are all on Amazon, both ebooks and paperback. Then my website is marilynshannon.com. I also have expertlistener.com. And then, of course, please come visit me at Listening School, a new group on Facebook. And then you can always find me at marilynshannon.com. And it's MARILYN, Shannon, SHANNON.com. If I can guide you into anything, please help. I'm there. If you have a question about listening or anything that I've said, I'm happy to help.
Thank you so much. You have more websites than Joe Altieri. I think you have one more than me. I have a lot of websites. But thank you so much for having coffee with me this morning. This is what it's all about. It was a lot of fun kidding with you, but getting some good. I'm going to be a better listener, I promise, because of this show. I'm actually already at peace. So I hope that our listeners and viewers can find the peace and experience it at its fullest potential. And yeah, and I'm all about change, so I'm reinventing every day. So thank you very, very much for being a part of Wake Up to the Vibe. Okay. Have a great day. You got it. Yeah.